So do you watch the best players in the world hit the ball and marvel and think, wow, wish just for a few shots I could hit it like that? Well, by the end of today's video, I'm going to give you a little move that starts your downswing that's going to take your ball striking with every club in the bag to the next level. So the biggest difference I see between kind of top golfers and maybe golfers a little bit more new to it or higher handicappers is really just the quality of the strike. And I've got 7-iron here, but I'm going to run through various clubs and show you how this move is so important to get you striking the ball more like this. So we can see there, little baby draw, 158 carry, 170 total. But the key number on that chart there from TrackMan was where the low point of my golf swing was. So it was actually 3 inches ahead of the golf ball. And particularly when the ball's on the floor, driver are a different animal, but when the golf ball's on the floor, we're looking to get that club working in a circle around our body, and the lowest point should be ahead of the golf ball so that we strike ball and then ground. Now, I'm going to talk about initially why I think a lot of golfers struggle to get that consistency. And I think from a decent setup, most golfers are very aware that they need to transfer their weight. So what you tend to see is on the way back, they'll move the weight onto that trail foot. And then as they come down, they want to move that weight across. And one of 2 things happens. Once they get on that right foot, they either slide towards the target, the upper body stays back, and then they bottom out early like this. And that was absolutely horrendous. And that far back that TrackMan won't even pick that up, but you'll have seen on the video there, kind of hit back here. Or they actually just stay on that back foot. And even though they can get a good strike on it sometimes, very, very high. I've just got my low point slightly ahead there, but we can see that one back at 150 carry and 153 total. So if you're somebody who does move a little bit on the way back, I don't mind an element of movement, but the first thing I want you to work on is as you go into your backswing, I want you to feel that trail hip turns behind you rather than moves away from the target. But it's once you get to the top of the swing, this next movement is really key. So instead of thinking about moving your weight, I want you to push down into that lead foot as hard as you can, almost like you're stamping that foot into the ground. The first thing that's going to do is really shift your pressure into that lead foot, get you onto there, and as you keep pressing down, you can see there the hip moves out the way, and it's going to deliver the club very, very differently. So let's go maybe a little bit less than full speed to begin with. So it felt a little bit slower, but definitely felt like I stamped my foot. We could see there 4.1 inches ahead, 165 carry, and we can see the little line on TrackMan there on that image showing where the lowest point of the swing was. So once that low point got that far ahead, instead of coming into impact like this, we get that shaft leaning forward, de-lofting the club. So even though I was a little bit slower with the speed, the ball actually went further because it came quicker off the club face. So I always think it's worth doing 2 or 3, taking a bit of speed out just to improve your awareness. So I'm going to turn back with that hip, stamp that foot down into the ground. And even for me, that feels quite exaggerated, but we can see a good level of consistency, 4.4 inches ahead. And again, 164 carry. Now, once we then put a little bit of speed back in, we should start seeing even more distance. That one just not quite shaping back. Not quite as good with the low point. I'd still take that at 2 inches ahead, but it wasn't my best shot there, was it? So let's have another go. That felt more like I'd be looking for. Really stamped into that lead foot, 2.1 inches ahead. 168 carry, 174 total. Now, I have done videos on this in the past, and a question that gets brought up a lot is when you do this movement and you de-loft the golf club, a lot of guys ask, well, why wouldn't you just make your normal swing and take less club? The key is not just the de-lofting thing, though. It's actually a case of moving that low point ahead to get that ball and then turf strike. Somebody who bottoms out behind, yes, by all means, taking extra club, it's going to hit it lower, it's going to hit it further. But if the quality of strike's not there, as the club gets longer and it's maybe a bit tougher to control, they actually don't get that proportionate distance. So not only is this about de-lofting and hitting it further, but it's actually about improving the quality of the strike. So we've seen with 7-iron there, fairly simple and getting some great results. Let's move on to 3-wood now, which is potentially where some golfers really struggle. Right, so the first mistake most golfers make with 3-wood or any of their fairway woods is they have this image in their head that they need to be sweeping the ball away. And I don't necessarily want to really be de-lofting it because there's not a huge amount of loft on a 3-wood to begin with, but I still want my low point to be slightly ahead of the golf ball. So we're going to treat the movement exactly the same, but what we're going to change is we're now going to move that ball position a little bit further forward. So if my low point was 2 to 4 inches ahead when I had the ball in the middle, if I were to move this kind of 2 to 3 inches ahead of centre now, as long as my movement's consistent, my low point should be ahead. The club should travel down into impact, should have a tiny bit of shaft lean, and that's going to help me hit higher up the face with the fairway wood, which is going to get me some elevation and get me the distance. But this is definitely a club where I see golfers really getting in a lot of trouble and strike really struggling with fairway wood. So ball forward, same movement that we had with the 7-iron. And on call, 1.1 inches ahead, 227 carry, 254 total. Now, if I'm being honest, certainly many years ago when I was a junior, I used to really struggle with fairway woods. And it was massively down to the fact that I was really trying to sweep the ball away. I'd thin a lot, top a lot, even fat it with 3-wood. So for years, 3-wood never made it in my bag. In fact, fairway wood for a lot of years wasn't in there. But now I'm able to deliver that club more consistently. I really feel 3-wood's a great option for me. That one just drifting down the right. But again, 2 inches ahead, just over 220 carry and just under 240 total. So you can see we're treating 3-wood very much like 7-iron and just allowing that ball position to be different, but we're keeping that move that we start the downswing by stamping that foot into the ground as similar as possible. But now, the club that's maybe a bit different, let's get into driver. Right, so the reason driver could be a little bit different, or should be a little bit different, is that the ball's not on the floor now, it's up in the air, and I'm someone who really likes to tee the ball nice and high. So what I now want to do is get my low point this side or behind the golf ball rather than the head. That's going to get the club travelling up, going to launch the ball higher with less backspin and hopefully hit the ball a little bit further. So first thing we're going to change is we're going to move the ball maybe fractionally further forward even still. So that should encourage a little bit behind. But the slight change we want with how we use the pressure in the left foot. As we get back, I don't mind the weight moving a little bit more into that back leg, but we're going to stamp the left foot down, and as you stamp, you're then going to feel like you push up off the ground. That'll transfer your pressure to begin with, and as you push up, see how the upper body tilts back, moves that low point behind, and gets the club travelling up. So it's a little bit more of an exaggerated feeling with driver than it is with the shots on the floor. But let's put it into practice and see if we can get a couple really out there. maybe a little bit low off the face, but we can see low point 9.6 inches behind. Carry at just under 240 and total at 265. So we can see there, even though I only moved the ball position forward maybe another inch, couple of inches, that change in how I push down and then up off that foot really changed where the low point of my golf swing was. And that may be a little too much for me, which is why that strike was a bit low on the face. But if you can do that and then start putting a bit of speed in and maintaining that strike, that's where this move is going to really transform your ball striking with every club in the bag. And hopefully, if I can get this right, get a nice long drive. So felt solid, bit more like it for me, 6.4 inches behind, nice and straight, 257 carry and 274 total. So hopefully guys, you've worked through the various clubs there, but like I said, if you can feel that you turn a little bit more on the way back, get that hip going behind you rather than working to side in your golf swing, but then really stamp that lead foot down, keep the pressure going onto that left side when the ball's on the floor. That's going to get ball and then turf, really improve your ball striking, get you hitting it a bit further. And then with driver, balls further forward, drive down and then push back, get that hip going behind you. That's going to get you hitting up. And you might not do it as well as the best players in the world, but it'll definitely change your ball striking with every club in the bag and really make it a lot more fun. So guys, hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, like it and share it. Comment below and I'll get back to as many people as I can. There's another video just there that hopefully will help you with your game. Hopefully catch up with some of you guys down here soon. Stay in contact.